there is another short answer with this, and the British are complicit. They've always been complicit, right the way back, Lord Balfour, and before then. So we're not just making weapons to weaponize the occupation. We are hosting Israeli arms factories, numerous Israeli arms factories. We're providing the materials that these Israeli arms factories need to manufacture the weapons. So the reason they're on British soil is that we make the aluminium and the plastics and the tin and other components that the Israeli regime needs in order to manufacture the weapons, from scratch. If we close down if Palestine Action managed to shut down all the Israeli arms factories on British soil, the Israelis will continue to manufacture weapons, but the import of the plastics and the tins and all the other metals and components would seriously cut into its profits. So they're here because it's a cheaper labor, cheaper production materials. And so Britain is enabling this actual genocide. Literally, as we speak, these Israeli arms factories are working round the clock to produce more drones, more weaponry, more munitions, more tanks, more helicopter parts, to keep facilitating an ongoing genocide. So Britain is wholly complicit, as is the United States, as is Canada, as is Australia, everywhere where an Israeli arms factory is manufacturing these weapons on foreign soil. That makes those countries complicit. Now, we've worked really hard for years to close these Israeli arms factories down. I think there's 8 left in the country. Palestine Action shut down 2 in their first 2 years of launching. But there's 8 further factories which are located in all areas of Britain that are using our ports and our harbours to then ship and cargo these munitions straight back to Haifa, where they're being used on Palestinian civilians. So yeah, our complicity is, it is unquestionable. The problem is now getting a government that is entirely invested in this arms trade. They're actually profiting every time a bomb is dropped. Most of our MPs, and they are mostly Conservative MPs, but most of our MPs actually profit. Their investments go up every single time one of these bombs are dropped. So to ask the British government to pull out is asking them to divest, and you're asking them to not reap in the profits that they have been doing so for years. It's a very hard task that we have ahead of us when our own government is so invested in this. I don't want to call it a war, I just call it a genocide. Is so invested in this genocide. So we have a lot of work. Activists have a lot of work here. We're literally having to start at ground zero and work our way up. And the chasm between the people and the politicians has become so huge that we're all politically homeless. I mean, none of us can vote for anyone who abstained in a vote for a ceasefire or didn't vote for a ceasefire. And the friends that we've lost recently, and Nadia also, I'm really sorry if I'm speaking insensitively, but the family and the friends that people have lost may not have needed to die, because if we'd had the ceasefire and the ceasefire was called weeks and weeks and weeks ago, then the deaths that the Palestinians have endured would not have occurred. So it's an evil complicity. And we will continue to work at shutting these factories down. That is partly the root cause of what is happening. But there's 100 different aspects that we could take here. Britain is complicit. The West is complicit. The EU is directly funding and aiding this genocide, and the US as well, but also funding and development and business projects. They're all being funded, and it's all going to the Israeli military. So yeah, we've got our work cut out for us.